Lately, it feels like more and more people are struggling to stay motivated. Studies even suggest that around 20 to 25% of people struggle with chronic procrastination because they lack motivation. And honestly, I'm one of those people. It's not like I don't have things I could be doing. My to-do list is massive. There's stuff I need to get done at work, there's things I need to do around the house. I've even got a bunch of hobbies I've been wanting to start, but somehow I always end up in the same spot. Either I'm at my computer playing a video game, or I'm on my phone mindlessly scrolling. And then what happens is, before I even realize it, the whole day's gone and I've got nothing to show for it. I wanted to figure out why I felt so stuck and why I couldn't get myself to do the things I actually wanted to do. And what I realized was actually kind of surprising. Turns out, I really wasn't lacking motivation at all. So I've been watching a YouTuber named Dr. K for a while now, and if you've never heard of him, he's a Harvard-trained psychiatrist, he's a researcher, and he's also an author who talks a lot about mental health and how the brain works. If you haven't seen any of his videos, I highly recommend that you check him out. But anyway, the other day I came across an interview he did where he explained something that really clicked for me.
So I think one of the biggest problems we talk about lack of life purpose, lack of motivation. So one of the biggest mistakes that I think people make is that they view themselves as having a lack of motivation. So if I'm like playing video games for 10 hours a day, I say to myself, I lack motivation. You don't lack motivation. You have an intense amount of motivation to play video games. You have an intense amount of motivation to stay stuck. And if you don't believe that, all you have to do is try to do something else. And what you will find is that you have very powerful motivational drivers to keep you where you are.
When I heard that, that was really kind of my aha moment. See, all this time I had been waiting for motivation to just magically appear and thinking that one day I would just wake up and suddenly become this super productive version of myself. But the truth is, the motivation was already there. I was just putting it into the wrong things. Here's what I mean. Let's say I have this project I really need to work on. Without even realizing it, I'm actually giving myself the option of working on that project or doing something more fun like gaming or scrolling on my phone. And if those are the options, then my brain is obviously going to pick the fun thing. Because doing the hard thing feels hard, but doing the fun thing, I get an instant payoff. My brain gets to have all the dopamine it's craving without having to do any of the extra work. And then so I go, I can just do this fun thing real quick and get it out of the way, and then I'll do the hard thing I need to do later on. The problem is, later never actually happens. You tell yourself you'll do the hard thing later, but instead you just jump to the next quick dopamine hit and then the next one until the day is over and you feel terrible because you didn't actually do anything meaningful. So what I realized was that I needed to make some changes. I needed to retrain my brain to actually enjoy being productive. And so that meant cutting out all the distractions that were draining all my motivation. For me, that meant first I had to put away the video games, I had to delete the social media apps from my phone, and I needed to start creating some boundaries. And then I needed to start rearranging my day to make sure I was focusing on the most important things first. So that meant no more scrolling in bed, no more starting the day with YouTube, and definitely no more quick video games before getting to work. I had to make myself a rule, which was whatever was the hardest and most important thing for the day was the thing that I needed to tackle first thing in the morning. Now, what you're probably thinking is, oh, so you just quit video games and all your motivation problems disappeared? Not exactly. See, even after cutting out distractions, I still struggled to turn my motivation into action. For example, a few years ago, I decided I wanted to learn to code. My big goal was that I was going to teach myself to become a software engineer, and then I was going to make good money. But the problem was, when it came time to actually sit down and study, I would catch myself saying things like, I'll do it later. You know what? There's a bunch of dishes in the sink. Maybe I'll go do those first. Hang on, the dishes? Why would I willingly choose to do the dishes over something I actually wanted to learn? And trust me, I really hate doing the dishes. But the reason is because studying felt abstract. The payoff, which was becoming a software engineer, was this far off hypothetical thing. My brain didn't know how to process what being a software engineer even meant because I've never actually been one. But the dishes, that's simple. You wash the dishes, now the dishes are clean. Then you're done. Boom, immediate payoff. What helped me was breaking the goal down into smaller and more actionable steps. So instead of saying, I'm going to learn to code and become a software engineer, I would say, I'm just going to write one line of code today, or I'm going to learn one new concept. Those tiny wins felt way more doable, and over time, they really added up. Now, there was one more concept I came across that completely changed the way I think about motivation. And honestly, it's probably been one of the biggest things that was holding me back. That was the word should, or more specifically, the idea of shoulding on yourself. That's a term coined by psychologist Dr. Albert Ellis on the cycle of self-criticism through unnecessary self-imposed expectations. And it's all about how we set these unnecessary expectations for ourselves that end up creating this cycle of guilt and frustration. Here's what shoulding on yourself might look like. I should study. It's a nice day out. I should go for a jog. I should work on that project that's due for work. And the problem with should is that it's a terrible motivator. It's just way too passive. Your brain doesn't respond to should. It works off of needs and wants, like I need to eat or I'll starve. I want to play a video game because it's fun. And honestly, sometimes your brain might trick you into thinking that's a need because of all the free dopamine, but that's another topic. But should, it's just kind of vague. It doesn't really have the urgency or clarity of a need or want. And even worse, should gives you all these opportunities to talk yourself out of the thing that you think you want to do. I should go to the gym, but it's hard. But I'll be tired. But I'll be sore. But I don't know what I'm doing. But people will judge me. So instead of actually doing the thing you should do, your brain goes, you know what? Let's just go do something easier that we actually want to do right now. And that's how the cycle repeats itself. This happens even more when you start shoulding based on what other people are doing. You know those YouTube videos, the ones that go, here are 7 things every billionaire does every day. Do these and you'll become a billionaire too. And then you're like, okay, I guess I should start waking up every day at 4 a.m. And I should read for an hour. And I should do 50 push-ups every hour in between cold emailing every Fortune 500 CEO. Why? Why do you actually want to do those things? Is it to become a billionaire? I mean, do you even want to be a billionaire? Maybe you do. And if you do, that's fine. But the thing is, extrinsic motivators like money or status are only going to get you so far. Real motivation has to come from within. Take reading, for example. I used to want to read because I thought, well, successful people read, so I should read too. And that made reading feel like a chore. But now I read because I'm curious and I enjoy learning new things. I go to the gym because I like getting stronger and because I feel amazing after a workout, not because I should. When you stop focusing on what you should do and start figuring out what you actually want to do, what genuinely matters to you, then the motivation comes naturally. And look, I'm not saying you should quit video games forever or throw your phone away. I still scroll sometimes and that's okay. But I found that when I'm actually prioritizing the things that make me happy and healthy, the things that actually make me feel good, I get way more out of life. And hey, who knows? Maybe if you try it, it'll work for you too.